humble. They wanna bubble. Mix them and cook them in a pot like gumbo. Going off on the motherfucker like that. With a cat that's pointed at your ass. So give it up smooth. Ain't no telling when I'm down for a jack move. Cause a murder after keep ya dancing. With a crime record like Charles Manson. 10.7 is the tool. Don't make me act a motherfucking fool. Me and you can go toe-to-toe, no fake. I'm knocking niggas out the box daily. Yo, weekly, monthly, yearly. I tell them dumb motherfuckers see clearly that I'm down with the capital CBT. Boy, you can't fuck with me. So when I'm in your neighborhood, you better duck. Cause Ice Cube is crazy as fuck. As I leave, believe I'm starving. But when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of town.
Welcome to the Renegade podcast. I'm your host, the Dashing Rogue. And I'm with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman.
If it were moved and seconded that 2 and 3 make 5, we should spend 2 whole days debating the matter and only then pass a resolution in the affirmative.
Indeed. Indeed. And that's basically politics in a nutshell in 2020. But yeah, welcome everyone. I'm going to let a little bit more people come in here for a little bit. Got Holy Mystic, welcome. I'm glad to see that you're here early. That's good. And we got a few other people. And guess what? YouTube seems to still like me enough to actually give me 241 subscribers, which is good. I mean, I'm still looking, hopefully to get past it by the end of the year. Hopefully, I'll get 300. You know, you're not gonna call y'all 300 Spartans, but be it as it may. No, seriously, it's awesome. So, you know, I was talking with Luke earlier, and we were talking about this chick that we. She was basically the chick who. What was it? She was the Happa girl on Murdoch. Apparently, this chick is that chick right there. That's the one. Happa time. Her name's Jessica Ricks. I know this because she literally lives right down the fucking way from where I'm at. Not to give too much correlative data, but she's in the same area. So if there ever has a boogaloo, if there's ever a boogaloo, or if there's ever a natural disaster and the apocalypse happens, I could very well get my, apocalypse waifu, just saying. Unfortunately, for those who fantasy is not the same as reality. And she and her sisters, which again are becoming wine ants, unfortunately, given the fact that, they're just too wealthy and no one can, when you get to the top of the hierarchy, it's hard to, it's lonely up there.
Yeah, I'm looking, you shared a picture with me and it said, and they're all 4 of them wearing their black masks or chrono masks, and they have signs that say, silence is violence, Black Lives Matter, stop systematic oppression, and one that's too numerous to meme.
I hate to be the guy who says this, but most of that shit out there, they probably don't even know what's going on, but they're just doing it for social media presence. Like, let's be frank with ourselves. We're all parasites when it comes to the media. We really are. I mean, the commentator channels, that's their key. I mean, look at Sargon. I mean, how many of these fucking, conservatives and how many of these, liberals and how many of these progressives constantly feed off of, oppression, feed off of, what the stupid, progressive or SJW says. How many, I mean, that's basically all the contents. For every freaking, SJW ownage video that exists, there's always another freaking stupid alt-right, and I really don't like that type of commentary. I try to make my own thing. I'm not really interested in fighting for the forces of order or chaos. I'm more of a guy who just does his own thing and somehow succeeds anyway. I guess that makes me a Sigma, but according to Tay Spaghetti's, ontological framework, I guess.
I mean, there's always a joke about Rush Limbaugh. I said, if it weren't for the media, Rush Limbaugh wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, and again, and this is one of the biggest problems I have is because once we run out of racism, all the people who have the jobs who are looking for racism, they'll have a job. They will be.
They have to do honest work for once.
They might actually, but even then, it's kind of scary because let's be frank, how does any of this, let's say you work for the SPLC or you work for, some sort of anti-racist group. And we're going to limit it to actual people who don't fight back, who don't physically fight. We're going to talk about activism in the speech sense, free speech type of sort of thing. So like FIRE, for instance. If academia got its shit in order, FIRE would never exist. FIRE is for those of you who don't know, is basically the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. It was started by this young kid from Brooklyn. He's a young Jewish liberal kid, right? And one of the things they always said, he said that, when they were talking about all the free speech movement of the 60s, they weren't fighting for freedom of speech. They were fighting for their speech. And I really think that ultimately is the problem on the right now. Everyone wants to, have the perfect ontology. Everyone wants to have the perfect worldview. They don't want to let any other thing that, might change and make them have to actually act upon new information. They'd rather just say, oh, that's just what the crazy liberal believes. Oh, that's just what the crazy, conservative believes. Oh, that's just what the traditionalists believe. Welcome, DZ. Sup? And for whatever reasons, okay, there you go. That's better. Yeah, but the biggest problem I have, and this is why I must say that, I'm not taking any sides in any of these culture wars. Am I considered neutral? No. Am I considered, I still have my own political beliefs, but ultimately I try to keep them to myself, and I try to keep them outside. And whenever I have a political belief, for example, I'm gonna do another shilling of that ACA 5. Let's see if I can find it. The ACA 5. See if I can find it here. I'm going to shield this one more time. It's a petition, unchanged.org. I'm going to show it one more time just to prove the point. And we are so close to it. But essentially what this does is it prevents the crazy liberals, the crazy progressive racist bastards from.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it, man. That's
apparently someone found a way to have an animated GIF on their Facebook account.
Well, that's interesting.
I want to do that.
Yeah, that's actually sounds pretty cool. No, but in all honesty, this change.org position, I'm only going to push a few things. If people want to subscribe, if they want to, sign the petition, by all means do it. If you don't, I understand. I totally get it. But at the same freaking time, there's a lot of bad crap that's going on. And we're going to talk about that. We've had a really crazy week, and the world is getting crazier and crazier. But at the end of the day, I still make money. I still put on, six of my dolls. Or for those of you who don't know, I have an eBay business. A lot of my income, I'll just say it. I think that a lot of people who, not just SJWs, but it started with the SJWs. But then we have started seeing Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, V Monroe, and a lot of other YouTubers basically, starting to go after Patreon. They wanted more and more. They wanted to use Patreon, which was originally called hipster welfare, just to make more money, because they realized you can't be an activist full time without getting funds from people. And I don't like begging, so I oftentimes just sell stuff online. It just happens to be dolls in this case. And they're very profitable. I buy them for $2, sell them for 20. Simple as that. People want them, and it's good beer money. But other than that, I did get something from Beckloff just now, and I wanted to. I don't know if this is safe for work, but I trust Beckloff's prowess when it comes to judgment. If that makes any sense, because when you think of the Bulbasaur, think of prowess. Here you go, Luke. I just want to. This is being sent here, and I'll take a look into it. Okay, so we'll behold the viewing globe, ladies and gentlemen.
What we got here? What is this?
It's a YouTube video made by somebody. I don't know enough about it, but we're gonna figure out what this is. Let's view it.
From the president, making it very clear that he wants schools to reopen, and in fact, there could be negative outcomes for those that don't.
Well, one, we should definitely open up the schools, and we need to stop listening to Dr. Fauci, who is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. And all of your listeners know this, I know this, you know this, we all know this, but Jeffrey Epstein's not a good man, and Bill Gates spent a lot of time with Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't think we should be listening to a pedophile for how to treat our kids, period. And we shouldn't be listening to people who spend time with pedophiles as it relates to our kids. So if Bill Gates wanted to watch my kids as a babysitter, I wouldn't let him do it. I'm certainly not going to use a vaccine he recommends. And Bill Gates has asked Dr. Fauci to serve on his board for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So stop listening to Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci. They are corrupt individuals, and Bill Gates hangs out with pedophiles consistently. Why would he hang out with Epstein? Why would he do that? It's sick.
Okay. All right. Clark, thank you.
Was she expecting that?
I don't think she was, but I'll tell you this: it's going to be interesting to see how fucking Bill Gates responds to that. I'll be frank with you.
If he even dignifies it with a response.
No, he will, because he's still a little nerd. We have to remember that. Bill will always be the eternal fucking virgin nerd from high school. He thinks it's still high school. You know, I mean, if you really think about it, we kind of are his prodigy in a lot of ways. A lot of this, pissing and shitting contests online, the trolling, that's all, God, I hate to use this terminology, especially if I turn into a balding Canadian bisexual, but it's gamma shit. It's gamma male nerd. Like I want to, become the secret king type of crap. That's what that is. A lot of the trolling crap is. And I'm not going to say you can't troll. I'm just saying, let's call it for what it is. It doesn't do anything other than cause problems. It causes issues. And, sometimes you like to have problems. Some people like problems they need to solve. But in any case.
Gives them a purpose in life.
Yep. So that music, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just on your comment about... recently I've been watching a lot of... for some reason I was watching videos talking about the obsession that people have with people's sex lives and attitudes, and I was reminded of the song "High School Never Ends" by Bowling for Soup. And the quote, the refrain is, "The whole dang world is just obsessed with who's the best dressed and who's having sex, who's got the money, who's got the honeys, who's kind of cute, and who's just a mess."
Indeed. That's very, very well.
We are never maturing past this, are we?
Well, let me just say this: as long as we feed drama, as long as we acknowledge that these people don't really have much in power, they don't. At the end of the day, I mean, shoe on head, she can't even fucking take a shower without taking off her fucking wig. Roaming millennial would never get where she's at because she's sucking off her producer.
Oh, and that reminds me about what I said about AOC.
Tell us.
It finally, I don't know why it took me so long to realize this, but it finally dawned on me that AOC has the persona of the ditzy college high school cheerleader who only got by but only was able to pass by giving sexual favors to her teachers. It's like, how come I never noticed that before?
She technically is. I mean, would you bang her?
I have higher standards now.
Yeah, to be honest, if I wasn't a good God-fearing Christian, I would almost certainly, I said,
if I wasn't a Christian, well,
yeah, exactly. If we weren't,
I don't know. It depends.
Yeah,
it depends on where. It depends on the location.
Well, she has a good bod on her. It's just she has crazy eyes. She has the Manson eyes. But you already knew that. I mean, that's
a selling point that people have of her.
I mean, yeah.
But her pop. I mean, she's only skirting by on her mostly blue district, and she's making argument that the reason why people are rioting is because they don't want to pay their rent.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to pay my rent either. But guess what? When this whole thing kicked off, because everyone knew that I got a really big head start in this whole pandemic crap. I paid all my rent off. When January 1st came across, when January 1st, happened, I immediately did my taxes. I don't know if it's I don't wait till the due date. I get that shit done because I don't want to piss off Uncle Sam, And at the same time, when everyone else is financially hurting and whenever the hell they do it, whether it be February or March or what have you, I'm actually fairly, above the board. I'm still surviving, But in all honesty, welcome Beckloff, welcome DZ, welcome Holy Mystic. We're gonna get into more stuff, but first I want to say the music that was being played. That was NWAS with an Attitude. It was a remix of NWA's Straight Out of Compton, and it was a Elder Scrolls remix. Link will be in the description. I did not make that. That was Ice Cube stuff. But if you ever go take a look at Ice Cube's Twitter, which we're gonna get into Twitter because that's the big elephant in the room, real quick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're gonna get into Twitter. So,
I've been told to stay away from Twitter. I'm gonna give some recommendations of personally what I believe we need to do to mitigate because that whole thing happened a couple of days ago. What did really happen here?
Well, essentially, what happened was we had a bunch of high-profile celebrities, such as Elon Musk, Bill Gates, I believe, Obama, as well as Biden. They all were hacked They were all hacked, and this is the thing that really,
offering people Bitcoin schemes.
they were that is true. According to the New York Post, it was done by a teenage prank was behind the massive Twitter hack. Report says, bullshit. I'll tell you that right now, bullshit, and I'll tell you the reason why it's bullshit. One of the things that all these accounts had in common was they had two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication oftentimes means that when you log in, they will send you a random code, whether it be on your phone via text or some other method that you personally have access to and only you have access to. So it's like usually their phone, right? Like let's say your phone number, whatever it might be, 555, whatever. The problem is this hack bypassed that. So that immediately made me think, we're not dealing with people of like the normal variety. You aren't dealing with, Fortran trolls that know how to, use scripts and things like that. We're dealing with people who legitimately, found a way to bypass Twitter's censorship. Just imagine what would happen if Obama said, let's kill all these whiteys. These whiteys need to die. It's time for us to reclaim our territory and get back to the people.
But that'd be a question. Would there be a positive response to that? Because that would look like a troll.
Well, here's the thing. Without any evidence, there is no way to know that person was actually, again, they broke in and they fucked with people via with the Bitcoin thing. Here's the problem. We all know that we know that the system is compromised now. We know that people can get in by bypassing two-factor authentication, which, by the way, you should have two-factor authentication for all the social media shit you use. That is doctor's orders, okay? This is not a recommendation. This is doctor's orders. If you don't have it, you're a fucking fool, because it'll be a hell of a lot easier for me to get into your shit, okay? But what I'm trying to get across here is that it very well could have been a position where some hacker got in and started a pissing match between, Barack Obama and, let's say, Vladimir Putin. Or Trump. Like, they could have hacked Trump and said, Putin, I'm gonna give you Ukraine, I'm gonna give you the Donbass area, and I'm gonna give you Poland. It's gonna be a lovely place for the Eurasian Economic Union, or some shit like that. They could have started a fucking war over this. And the thing that scares the fuck out of me is that this was probably on the inside. So don't pay attention to the Bitcoin thing. That's fucking chump change to what they really could have done. So one of the things I've said, delete off of your phone your Twitter app. You could use Twitter on your computer. That's fine. And the reason I say delete it off of your phone is because in order for Twitter to work, it needs to be able to fetch data and bring it back. Fetch data and bring it back. That's how you get notifications. So there's always a heartbeat of connection between. And I use the term heartbeat, not like heartbeat like the actual bug, but there's always a connection like, oh, we need to get more information from Twitter. Oh, we need to get more information from Twitter. It could be every 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 seconds. If you have this if it's on the service side, that means that they could very well send a bad update to certain phones, and then it could compromise a phone that way. So for security's sake, I would recommend individuals deleting the app of Twitter off their phone, along with TikTok as well.
Oh, definitely TikTok.
TikTok, especially Zoom as well. At this point, I've told people just do a detox of 30 days off of Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. I'm of the opinion I like Instagram because I like looking at beautiful women. That's just me, and beautiful things in general. Just not like traps or anything, but like battle station setups, modern design, things such as that. I'm big into that, and that's why I like Twitter. A lot of boomers, believe it or not, they actually like Pinterest. I've seen more boomers get into Pinterest than you would think, But yeah, Twitter got hacked. It got hacked, and well, I don't know. I think it's a matter. The feds are looking into it, obviously. But like seriously, I think that this is a warning shot. This is saying we can get into your network. Don't fuck with us. And I kind of want to do a hack on. I want to like break into WeChat. I kind of want to break into WeChat. I want to go into some of the, because we all know the Chinese did it. We all know it's either the Russians or the Chinese. It ain't no fucking kid in his fucking backyard. There's no fucking way that some kid finds a way to bypass two-factor authentication, unless he has somebody on the inside to help him. because that's the thing because if you're coming at it from, the layman's perspective, you're going to have to bypass two-factor authentication. But for you to go on the supply side, the network side, the service side, which is like the infrastructure side, which is now compromised, just assume Twitter is compromised at this point. If you're being paranoid, you're doing the right thing. All right. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to use Twitter only through like a virtualized machine. That's a stupid idea. There will be people who will do that. Keep in mind, when you have, a Twitter app that is basically that is always, phoning home, they could very well send you a bad update or a cross-site scripting attack to activate more shit that's on your phone. They could do it now. This could be used as a way to, do a DDoS or a file distribution problem. Like they could have broken in and made it so that the base build of Twitter, let's say the iPhone app or the Android app, could have been compromised. Twitter is dead at this point. Okay, this has fucked them so hard that they're not going to be able to recover in any meaningful time. So,
some very twisted individuals in our nation's capital, sir. Why they're willing to express such intimate, often sexual thoughts over a cell phone, I'll never know.
I'll tell you why, Twitch. People are friggin' morons.
Yeah, people are morons. I mean, I really think that the Warring 20s is going to be the defining term of this decade. I've talked about people on this podcast before who, were saying this is going to be the crazy decade, and I think they might be a little bit correct. I mean, right down the way, there was a guy who died of COVID, literally within like arm's reach almost. And I'm not scared. I'm not scared of death. I'm honestly at this point, just laughing it off. Like I got shot in the ass. Holy shit! Ow, that hurts. It's kind of a joke at this point. Everyone gets one. Everyone gets shot or they get stabbed or something, but no one gets away unscathed. Beckloff says there's no reason for everything to be on an app. All these things are perfectly reachable through your phone's browser. Exactly, and they're also safer too, because at least you can choose not to connect through it. You could use Brave to like stop scripting attacks. It's probably even safer through Brave, to be honest.
The only downside is that the browser is constantly telling you to download the app.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, well, if you stop the scripting of that, and you could choose when and where. I kind of wish they had C-Monkey. The C-Monkey plugin is, right?
No.
And now they're coming to get my ass. But then again, this is the Digital Renegade podcast, and we are renegades. But be that as it may, the biggest problem here is that, what the fuck was I talking about? I'm sorry. Fucking.
I forgot too.
I forgot myself. But the biggest problem with
C-Monkey key or something.
Oh yeah, C-Monkey. C-Monkey is this Firefox extension that basically allows you to edit and change JavaScript functions. So you could basically make it so that like you will automatically view something through a certain type of text or something like that. You could change it to, Times New Roman instead of Arial, let's say. There are ways you could probably edit that constant, download our app. You could easily fix that through, a Firefox plugin. I don't know if you can do it on mobile, and I'll tell you, mobile security is going to be way, like, let's just say that if you want to get into like computers, get into mobile security. That's what's going to be in the future. But yeah, let's see. COVID-19 at house arrest. Have you heard about this as of late? This Kentucky couple.
I've heard of it.
Okay, so let's look into this. But first, let's take a look. This is from Fox News, and basically what they're talking about is there's a Kentucky couple fit with an ankle monitor placed on house arrest for refusing to sign quarantine documents. Reports say. If I have to go to the ER, if I have to go to the hospital, I'm not going to wait to get approval to go, Elizabeth Lynn Scott said. A Kentucky couple was fitted with an ankle monitor and placed on house arrest while wife tested positive for coronavirus, but refused to sign self-quarantine documents, according to the reports. Elizabeth Lynn Scott said she got tested for COVID-19 as a precaution because she was planning to visit her parents in Michigan. She received a positive test result, but showed no symptoms. She said the Hardin County Health Department asked her to sign documents agreeing to call them any time that she left the house. The young mother claims she never refused to self quarantine, but said she would not sign documents because of how they were worded. Wake reported. So essentially, what they're doing now is they're starting to go after people based on the, if you don't sign these documents, we're gonna just force you to stay indoors. It's really fucked up.
This fits perfectly with Computing Forever has been going on this topic very well.
Clearly, mandation is there and can be used in some instances. In the United States, lawyer Alan Dershowitz has previously said the following.
Let me put it very clearly. You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread the disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. You have no right not to wear a mask. You have no right to open up your business.
Wait, can I stop you? No right not to be vaccinated? Meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm. If the vaccination
Where is that in the Constitution?
If the vaccination is designed to prevent the spread.
You can tell this lawyer guy's never gotten laid in his life. He doesn't have a family. I mean,
unfortunately, he's also been implicated with Epstein.
Of course, I thought I smelled fucking body glitter.
But of course, he gave an excellent and passionate reason why this Trump shouldn't be impeached.
At this point, it's just it's pandering. Candace Owen was the first one who started pandering. Then we had Charlie Cockroach Kirk, who started, which by the way, my dad's a big fan of Charlie Kirk for whatever reason. And I said, "What the fuck is wrong with you, Nick Fuentes? If you're gonna go with the whole like rah team conservative or team red, go with fucking Fuentes. At least he's interesting and original. I didn't even say original. Let's just say he's interesting.
I see. Someone sent me this clip about Alan Dershowitz and his relationship. He said Epstein said, "I was introduced to him by Lady Rothschild."
Oh my! Oh fucking A! Holy shit!
Oh boy!
The synagogue of Satan. Yeah. Well, let me just say this about that. I know what you're getting at, and there are a lot of evil Jews out there. And I'll be again. I hate to be the guy who keeps running fucking defense for these people, but in the end of the day, there is a legitimate evil presence within the Jewish community, and I think a lot of it is more secular than it is magical or even even religious for that matter. It's more secular. It's more like I'm the king and the rest of you have to bow before me type of stuff.
Well, at the very least, he's kept the line going because he was married for 15 years with 3 kids.
Well, maybe those kids will, not get into Harvard, and if we ever find out them on Twitter or Instagram, we just call them out and say, why is your dad on Jeffrey Epstein's plane? Like, say what you will about, doxing and getting people's kids involved. In this case, I really would like to see, people like who are accused of being on the, the Kitty Express or the fuck it's called, or going to Epstein's Island. I'd like to see that their children be called out, and it's like, why is you supporting your father who's a pederast or some shit like that? I would really like to see these people just be called out in front of the public. Like I would say, oh, I'm not going to serve you because you're a fucking pederast. And then actually have to force them to show their innocence in this regard. Because let's be frank, these people, they're just evil mother. Oh, of course he's dating a fucking Asian chick.
This is Woody Allen.
That's Woody Allen with who?
That's his formerly adopted daughter.
Of course he'd fucking adopt.
But you know his story though, right?
I don't know.
His original wife adopted her, but then Wu Yi felt differently, and so they maintained a relationship. And after they got divorced, they got together. These two got together.
So he's fucking his daughter, is what you're telling me?
Adopted daughter, yeah.
Oh,
it's kind of been contentious. It's one of the more contentious points of his entire career.
Yeah. Let's be frank. Like they're gonna make a freaking it sounds like Thornbirds almost. You never seen Thornbirds?
Thornbirds, no.
It sounds like the freaking a plot to a bad 1990s, 1980s miniseries. Like he's trying to groom his daughter, and he has like thirsts for his fucking daughter. I don't know. Woody Allen's a wimp anyhow. Who gives a fuck what Woody Allen says? Is it Woody Allen or is it Woody Harrelson?
Woody Allen, yeah, the director.
Okay, cool.
He's very clever and witty when it comes to his stuff because I actually like a lot of his work. of course, it's kind of pretentious in certain areas, but it's just, these artistic types. These, I relate to the artistic type as kind of weird, but this is a new level of weird.
Indeed.
Which, of course, I completely derailed the entire conversation with Dershowitz.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this whole fucking, I'm sick and tired of this COVID crap. I'm really sick of it. I'm sick of it, and I'm really, really tired of it simply because I just want to get back to life. And they shut everything down again. At one point, we could have gone to the freaking the mall. The mall was open for the longest freaking time. Like, yeah, going to a mall when there's a pandemic. I don't care about the pandemic anymore. At this point, I'm going to power through it. I'm not going to die. I will continue going through it. I will, just push on, because that's what I do. That's how I live. It's what I do. But yeah, that's the whole COVID-19. They're holding people on house arrest, and they're forcing people against their will and consent, saying you don't have a right to force people. If you're sick, you have no choice. No, fuck you. You don't have a.
Because that's the argument. The argument is you don't have a right to endanger the public.
Implying, well, then let me ask you this: what are the precautions you have to take? Because obviously, if somebody has, let's say, what is it? It's that freaking cough thing. It's when you cough up blood. Oh God, my friend had it. Oh, what is it called? It's tuberculosis. If someone has TB, there are ways to mitigate that, right? Mm-hmm. Should someone with TB be allowed to go out in public? Yeah, they should, because we have ways of mitigating it. So if someone wants to wear a mask, or even if they start going full on Darth Vader on us, let them do it. Let them do it. Let them do it. Because at this point, let's just be frank, they're using this freaking COVID crap as a form of control. It's soft control. It's soft tyranny. I'm really sick of it. I want to be able to do what I want at this point, and I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. But besides, go ahead.
Yeah, everyone. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but I'm trying to find the good part of it. It's where are you, clip? Here we go.
To know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Yeah, part of me thinks that at this point you have to go onto the freaking doorstep of these elites and call them out like Bane from fucking, I guess it's the Batman, right? Call Bruce Wayne out on the freaking front lawn and say, "Come out, you fucking pussy!" And if the police show up, you just tell them we're on the sidewalk.
Oh, how Trump recently came out with a mask on when we visited the military center?
Oh, yeah?
Well, someone said, no one looks more awesome wearing a mask than Trump does. And I was reminded of a little back and forth clip that someone had of Trump saying something back to the people. And then someone cuts right away to Bane going, "We give it back to you, the people." I can just imagine Trump saying that with the mask on.
Can you show me a picture of Trump with the mask? I have not seen this yet.
Mask. Let's see, where are we?
Because if you do remember that he got elected and he started Bane posting immediately.
Here we go. Here we are. Here's our president.
He does look pissed off. Like I hate to be. I think Computing Forever has been really doing a lot of work in this day and age. I kind of want to get him on here, just as a free speech podcast. And I figured, hey, we're Californians, we're pro free speech. Would you like to be on? That way, they would show the world that we're not just, a bunch of stick in the muds, but we actually do care. Wow. Yeah, he does. It's almost like hold on, hang on a second. Is that the presidential seal on the fucking mask?
Yes. Yes.
That is better, I guess. I mean, I'll be frank. I've seen a lot of interesting masks as of late. Like, it's getting to the point where I actually seen a Hanes mask. Like, Hanes?
Yeah.
But have you seen the Abercrombie and Fitch version of the mask?
No, but I'm looking it up now.
Look up some of these like high-end brands, like low-end brands. They're making their own fucking masks, man. It's getting weird out there.
This is the new normal abnormal, my friend.
You know,
so someone was making a channel about how we have to adapt to the new normal. And I think it was Short Fat Otaku talking about how the demoralization, how communists were trying to imply demoralization, and we're always talking about the new normal was one of their tactics.
Yeah, which I'll just say there is no such thing as normal. There isn't. Normal, like, let's see if I can find it.
Normal is almost a peaceful ideal at this point.
Who is the master who makes the grass green? There we go. Let's put this in. Here we go. This is one of the things. This is back when I used to do drugs. This is something for those of you who want to follow. Disregard the first. Actually, I'm gonna delete that real quick.
Here's one.
Here's one.
I hope this is official.
Yeah.
Abercrombie & Fish, New York.
Oh, wow. But I'll send you this. Play this clip real quick. This is a little bit trippy. For those of you who's scared of like bright lights or something like that, just play this. You could play it fast or slow. It don't really matter. But there's a part in it where they talk about normal being a mathematical abstract. And it is. At the end of the day, there's you can never find normal. There is no normal dog. There is no normal man. There is no normal woman. It's a mathematical abstract.
Well, they're just average. That's what normal technically is.
Well, if they said no, like, can you find an average dog?
Well, that's the thing. It's like if it fits as the average, which is
exactly.
The number
but
that occurs the most often.
Yeah. So Robert Anton Wilson is basically what would happen if what the hell was his name? If we got Jordan B. Peterson to do acid. No, like and you might say, "Oh, that's not too far off."
Reality tunnel. That's our reality tunnel. A mosquito comes in the window. A mosquito will perceive an entirely different reality tunnel than a dog. A dog will perceive a different reality tunnel than a human being. Everybody does it differently. That's why no two people ever perceive the same interlude of time. If you set a watch and then stop it and ask them how long it was, they'll guess anything from 15 seconds to 4 minutes. If you ask them what color something is, some will say green and some will say blue. And this is why the first problem in learning Zen Buddhism is generally to identify the great master who makes the grass green.
Who is the master who makes the grass green?
Who is the master who makes...
Isn't that Yahweh?
Like, what's up?
Isn't that Yahweh, the master who makes the grass green?
Well, the master that makes the grass green is always going to be the person who perceives it. And it's sort of like the notion of, because green doesn't exist. It's a construct of the human perception. Yes. If everybody the only way we.
Yeah, I am so tired of this construct. Like, everything is a social construct. Yeah, it's a social construct we're using to understand objective reality. Can we just admit that?
Well, here's the question: why do we have it as a social construct? Like, we know that green exists because the majority says it exists. So if you're like somebody who has, color blindness, you're not going to know what green is. There are different shades of green that you could see, but there are certain things you just can't see if you're colorblind.
Well, that's a defect, not a normal.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. There's the average sight, and then there's the inaverage sight. So when we talk about normal, you have to show somebody to prove that their sight is the norm. It is the average. And like I said, what was it? Jordan Peterson was a guy who basically he took up Timothy Leary's position at Harvard. So there is a chance that we might see a drug tripping fucking Jordan B. Peterson soon. Who knows?
Well, he's out and about and alive somewhere. I'm not sure what though.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, he's basically damaged because of that fucking therapy he went through. In Russia, of all fucking places. Thank God he didn't encounter anybody who I personally thought was evil in Russia. But be that as it may, there are. Well, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't know what the new normal is. All I know is that the old normal was just as good. So if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And I've been doing very well despite everyone, falling apart, the whole world falling apart around me. But in any case, so here's some soft So this is in this is Smithsonian race guidelines and rational thinking and hard work are white values.
Oh yes, I will happily take credit for making all of reality. Thank you.
Well, it's white is a social construct as well. You know that, right? I mean, it really is. Not now. We're going there. It is, and the reason it is because just like how the African tribes, like because in Africa didn't have countries. Countries were very much a white man's invention. I hate to be the guy that says this, but in reality, the African tribes, all they had was just like this stick post or this lamp post or whatever that might be. That would be their border. It wasn't very well defended, and what have you. But the whole white people thing is always been in relationship to black people. Blacks in America don't have any culture. They don't have a native tongue. All they have is the future and the present. Because again, for all you know, the guy who was right next to you on the fucking slave ship, he was probably going to be the guy who would have killed and raped your fucking tribe back in the days of slavery. So this notion of white man values and things like that they're not white, they're Anglo. Most of the things we're dealing with now are Anglo British values. So like common law and things like that. So I wanted to go down a few of these, talking about race by the NMAAHC. I don't know what the fuck that is. Aspects of assumptions of whiteness and white culture in the United States of America. White dominant culture or whiteness refers to the ways white people and their traditions, again, making a broad stroke, a lot of this stuff has to do with Anglos, those fucking Anglos. But let's see. White traditions, attitudes, and the ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practice in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, citation needed, we have all internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. One such of these this white attitude is what they're telling me is rugged individualism. Again, I would say that's more of a freaking Anglo thing, but let's just pretend that let's like ignore the collectivist fascism of Italy or the constant the Germans basically, and the Prussians with their whole military and their whole sacrificing the individual for the collective and a bunch of other crap. Let's put that aside and let's actually look at what the experts at the Smithsonian have to say. So rugged individuals. The individual is the primary unit. Self-reliance, which is now considered a white value. Independence and autonomy, highly valued plus rewarded. I've never been rewarded for my independence, nor have I been rewarded for my autonomy. In fact, I want it, but I can't get it for whatever reason. I guess it's because I'm in California. Individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. I guess. I mean, I personally don't think that you get what you deserve simply because, there are too many. Like again, it's like the sophistry of hard work. Work hard, follow your heart, and the money will follow. Any degree is a good degree. Rabba ding dong, give peace a chance. It means nothing. Okay, individualism versus egotism. That's a different topic. The family structure, the nuclear family, mother, father, 2 or 3 children is the ideal social unit. Yeah, to have a birth rate. I mean, you have to have
a stable household with a replacement birth rate is so whiteness apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like,
I mean, part of me wants to be troll. Like when I first read White Fragility, I thought I think the whole book was trying to imply that America's greatness is because of its racism. I thought, why don't we just go full board and just say racism is good?
Well, at the same time, my question then becomes, when the fuck did you read White Fragility?
I was interested in a copy of it, and I was kind of insulted by it.
How long is it? May I ask? Is it like just a pamphlet?
Well, I think it's like 5 hours in audiobook form, but that's the last time I ever spent money on those things.
Oh, thank God.
I mean, the whole thing is just... I mean, she calls people... She has those little corporation lectures where people go to have like special diversity training and stuff. She goes there, calls them all racist, and is surprised that people are mad because she calls them racist. Because that's an expression of white fragility, according to Robin DiAngelo.
Well, she's a fucking whore. So why do we care about what she has to say? Fucking whore. Any case, yeah. So the family structure. Never mind that Japanese and Asian families have lots of kids and are very, very much the husband is the breadwinner and the head of the household. The wife is the homemaker and subordinate. I mean, this all applies to Asians as well, unless you want to lump Asians in as well. Children should have their own rooms and be independent. Dude, I wish I had my own room growing up. And in some cases I did, in some cases I didn't. Emphasis on the scientific method. Now we're getting into the real interesting stuff. Objective, rational, linear thinking. Cause and effect relationships. A quantitative emphasis. I hate to be the guy who says this, but cause and effect is one of the few, I think it's the Hermetic principles, I believe, that was created by Hermes Trismegistus. It was Hermeticism, which was like a magical it was a magical system, and that came out of Chem. That came out of Chem, and as well as Egypt, and it was all throughout the Mediterranean. It wasn't exclusively white. I want people to understand that. Granted, the Anglos again, and their fucking reason, the Greeks and their philosophy. I mean, all this scientific method, and I mean, I'm trying to think, is Sextus Empiricus, right? The guy who invented the empirical method, that existed way before the notions of the whole white man versus black man versus red man versus yellow man. Again, but let's just continue, because why should facts trump ideology? History based on Northern European immigrants' experience in the United States. Yes, especially if it's U.S. history.
Well, I mean, all your European history is based on Europeans.
Japanese history is based on Japanese history. I mean, that's like the equivalent of saying we're not going to start Japanese history until the Portuguese show up, right? It's not like there was anything prior to that.
They're trying to make the argument, like, focus on the British Empire, the primacy of the Western Greek, Roman, and Judeo-Christian tradition. I mean, we are the dominant culture, so why wouldn't we have that there?
I mean, I would like to know more about Egypt at the time, because that was the birthplace of writing, personally. But I mean, why not? Why not? Let's
before European history too. So I mean, there's a place for that. I mean,
there absolutely is. I mean, look at Sargon of Akkad, not the channel, but
I mean, but it's just that in recent times, the dominant culture was the one that the British Empire in America kind of dominated the world. So we can't really ignore that.
Protestant work ethic. This is for you. Hard work is the key to success. I actually disagree with that as well, because like I said, hard work is so subjective. You might as well just say, give peace a chance, rabbit dabba ding dong. It means nothing.
There is a counter to that. Like, don't work hard, work smart.
Yeah, but then the problem is, if you don't have the ability to work smart, then what are you just doing? I've had bosses who literally told me, just do your 8 and don't bother me, and in 6 months we'll talk about a raise.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, don't break your back doing something you could easily do on your feet.
No, but it's not even that. It's just he didn't incentivize, actually doing work. He just incentivized me not getting in trouble.
Right.
Not getting in trouble, not bothering him. Do the work as much as you can. Like, yes, make sure you do it up to standard, but don't pass the standard. So just do the bare minimum for your essay. Just do the bare minimum, because you're not going to honor the hard work.
Do your work, but don't shake the boat. We're all here just to do a job.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's one of the reasons why I don't believe in hard work, except for being an entrepreneur or working out in the gym or working out, period. That's the only time you ever get to claim you actually did hard work, because otherwise I could just say, well, you just showed up on time, and that's considered hard work.
But is this uniquely Protestant and white?
Again, I will say it is Protestant, because this is more to do with the Anglos, because the Anglos walked away from the Catholic Church. But why not? Let's say that
the current Catholics weren't both Anglo. The Catholics and Protestants weren't both Anglo, or is that?
I think that there were there was a Catholic minority within Britain, and there still is, I believe. But again, the majority of them are secular nowadays, and they're not really religious anymore. Work before play. It depends on when you want to start that process.
It's true that my family was a Protestant family, and they do tell you to do your work and then you can have fun. I mean, that's that's just prioritizing what has to be done before you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, when I get paid, I have to it should be work before pay because pay rhymes with play. You could very well use that as an example because you can't play if you don't have the pay, right? The work ethic. If you didn't meet your goals, you didn't work hard enough. That is bullshit. There are certain things that are just never going to happen.
But keep in mind, Dashing, this list of things is not about what actually is. They're associating these behaviors or these ideal behaviors to a certain race of people.
Yeah, and that's why this is the reason why again I'm willing to be charitable and give them the benefit of the doubt, but not make it about race. I'm going to try as hard as I can to strip the racial aspect out of this equation.
And the implicit assumption is all these things, since whiteness is a negative, all these things listed are negatives. Working hard and all these things are basically most of these are a good number of these are proponents for making a decent, stable, and wonderful society. They're bad because they're associated with whiteness.
Well, Christianity is the norm because as opposed to being black and being a Nation of Islam supporter, right?
Christianity is a white religion. I mean, it was a religion of the Jews, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Anything other than Judeo-Christianity is foreign. Well, yeah, it is.
Wrong.
I mean,
it's also wrong from a pure theological standpoint, but let's not bring universal truth into this.
No tolerance for deviation from a single God concept. Define what you mean by tolerance. If we say that it doesn't exist, that's not tolerance. We're just saying it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's just not true. We're not saying that we could put up with. We could put up with disbelief. It's just that.
We're not going to burn the fucking heretic for fuck's sake. I mean, I might, but that's just me. Wealth equals worth. I hate.
I mean, if we're because this is kind of contradictory. I mean, if you're Christian, everyone has worth. So if you have wealth, do you have more worth?
I don't know. That's like some Velociraptor shit.
But this is about status and power and authority. So, well, there is kind of a truth to that because if you have more wealth, odds are that justice will never fall on you.
Your job is who you are. That's bullshit. Respect authority. No, I don't respect authority. Although I will respect it like a firearm or a snake or a cobra. Or some sort of wildcat that might rip my face off if I don't respect it, because that's basically what authority does.
Oh, this last one.
A heavy value on ownership of goods, space, and property. I hate to be the guy who says this, but that's life.
Yes.
Everyone has. Yes, everyone does.
But it's a base. I had this wonderful conversation with these socialists. Private property is a basic human right. You can't not have it. No one can not have it.
Well, I guess the question then becomes, what is again,
it's like a signifier of what it means to be human, to have things that belong to you and that you're yours to decide to do with.
Yeah. So, for example, let's go to the next part. Let's see.
Orientation. Oh, these are fun.
Plan for the future, because the grasshopper and the ant weren't good at they. Where does that come from? May I ask? The grasshopper and the ant.
I think it's one of Usopp's fables.
Go look it up, please. Just to confirm while I read off more. Delayed gratification. Progress is always best. I hate to be the guy who says this, but I don't like progress as a term simply because it's a sophist term. All you're really saying at the end of the day is we're moving. We're not where we're at. Okay, well, where we're at could have been better than where we were.
I mean, yeah, cancer progresses, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Exactly. So I'm gonna.
It's an Aesop fable.
Oh, cool. So then it's Greek then. And you could say Greeks are white or not. I'm not going to get into that debate here.
I mean, technically they are, but
some of them were Assyrian, or not even Assyrian, Persian, if you will.
Although, yeah, Assyrian.
Persian, I should say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that gets a little iffy there too.
Yeah, and but even then, if you really wanted to talk about bashing people who actually were white, who thought they were supremacists to a certain degree, you should keep in mind that the Greeks thought that anyone who didn't speak Greek was a barbarian. Literally.
Yeah, it's also funny. They had a belief system. The Greeks, those ancient Greeks had a belief system that are more in line with the biological with the environmental determinists than they do with the biological determinists. They actually believe that your environment caused you, and the Greeks just happened to be in the one place that created the best people.
Exactly. I think it was Aristotle who said that, you know, the notion of like where you are on the globe affects you. So like people with darker melanin were, well, we're getting into melanin, by the way, as well. People with darker melanin were lazier and all this other stuff. And then again, I hate to be the guy who says this, but you know, if food is everywhere in the jungle and you just have to, you know, get the food immediately because there's so much supply. The problem is you have to harvest it and you have to actually have to, you know, cultivate things. You can't just, well, again, you have to, tomorrow will be better. That's another thing they're talking about in the future. I hate the guy who says this, but tomorrow you get to try again.
Yeah,
That's all.
I mean, I guess because it's really weird because they want to associate optimism with whiteness. Like, what's wrong with being optimistic?
Yeah. And why is this exclusively towards white people? I've seen a lot of Asians who legitimately lose everything at a casino. And they're like, well, how am I going to get my money back? I need more money. Can I get my money back? I've seen people who are more optimistic and they're Mexican. They're freaking Latin American. They're black. This is not exclusive to whites. It's retarded. Time.
Oh, this is the best one.
Rigid time schedules. Now there is a wonderful movie that actually emphasizes this type of point very well. It's called The Gods Must Be Crazy. There's a part in it where they basically talk about the difference between like the Bushmen of Africa versus, you know, I think it's I guess it's the white man of Africa at the time. This was like in the 1970s, so for all we know, it was in South Africa at the time.
Is that
But
the one where the tribe they find a bottle from the sky and they try to get rid of it?
yeah, exactly. And they think that it's an evil device because there's only one of them, and of course there's all this wonderful, like vast, like you can go make your own bottle. Like the whole point of it was basically some guy drops a Coca-Cola bottle out from the sky from his plane. Bushmen find it, and eventually some bushman goes on a quest to get rid of it. He thinks it's like some sort of magical artifact.
It's because it's a hard and found surface. Everyone finds it useful, but now people fight over it constantly and realizing we gotta get rid of this thing because it's making us hate each other.
Exactly. Scarcity actually comes to those people. They probably never tasted scarcity in their life except from natural causes, you know. And I'll be frank, that is a byproduct of civilization. Not everyone gets pussy. Does that mean that we should just, you know, break up and bros before hoes? No, of course not. Not always, at least. Time views as a commodity. You know, this isn't that freaking movie where they had like time for like a cup of coffee or what have you. I can't remember what the hell it was called, but
it was Justin Timberlake movie. Like they only had a certain every person has a certain amount of time in their life, and they don't age, but they die if they run out of time. Which is it's a bizarre metaphor about it's like a proletariat socialist story about the people standing up, and the only reason, and they say in order for people to live forever, some people have to be sacrificed and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I don't see it that way either. But you know, aesthetics. Based on European culture, steak and potatoes, bland is best. Bitch, do you know anything about the East Indian Trading Company and how we went to fucking war to get spices? Which, by the way, I'm not a spice guy. I'm not. Like you know.
And for the record, I for one like steak and potatoes, but not because they're bland. Because I think they're it's almost like a primal instinct to eat this kind of stuff.
Well, you know, steak is, you know, I hate to be the guy who says this, but there are steak eaters and meat eaters all around the world.
Yes.
You know, the Japanese, you know, they had a nice freaking, you know, I don't want to say maybe a tuna or a salmon steak, and you know, the Chinese had steak, they had Mongolian barbecue, they had a bunch of stuff. It's not just European. You know, these people are like, again, they're fucking retarded, but let's just continue. Women's beauty standards based on blonde, thin, the Barbie. I don't know much, but I know this. Barbie was based off of the Streetwalker doll, and like post World War II Germany.
Streetwalker doll.
Yeah, she was based off of a Streetwalker doll, which means she's a whore. She was based off of a whore.
Oh no.
No, I'm serious. Like the original Streetwalker dolls, like the prototype Barbies that exist in Germany, they were very much they were whores. They were based off of a whore. So I hate to be the guy who says this, but you know, blonde, thin. Like thin is definitely something I would say is again, define thin. It's like defining thick. I don't know what it is with these women who want to have the biggest ass in the world. I don't know anything about that. I will say this: it's probably the norm, and for the longest time in European history, being fat was a sign of being, being well, saying that you could provide for your family, that you had more than what you needed. Being thin was considered, the common man. Nowadays, women's beauty standards are based on blonde. No, they're not based on blonde. I may say they're based on European standards because, we don't like afros. We don't like bushy sheep hair, let's say. But I'll give them that one. Minus the Barbie crap. But I will say that she is basically held up as a standard way too much nowadays. Men's attractiveness is based on economic status, power, intellect. Yeah, well, that's life. Hate to be the guy who says this, but
women like that stuff.
Yeah, that's what women like. And, don't blame me. Blame your fucking, the women who won't date me. That's really what it should be. Holidays based on Christian religion. No one's heard of, I hate to be the guy who says this, but, Kwanzaa and Hanukkah were not, or Ramadan even. Those aren't based on the Christian religion. Based on white history and male leaders.
So they're saying the holidays are exclusively about white people, or I don't get this one.
Based on white history and male leaders. I'm trying to think.
What are they trying to get at?
They're trying to make this notion. Again, they're just trying to, they're trying to put a label on something. They're trying to put a label on everything that we have and everything we hold dear. They're trying to deconstruct it because they just don't have a history. I'm sorry, you don't.
Yeah,
and your history is not as interesting as ours. Yeah, Too bad. Get over it.
Yeah, the we was kings people, they're always trying to take European history as if their own. It's like, well, can you just make a history for yourself? I mean, I have to make my own history.
Yeah, Holy Mystic says, I love marinated meats from time to time. You're making me hungry now, Holy Mystic. Let's finish this one off before we're done. Justice, based on English common law. Why is this considered white, besides the obvious that it's English common law? Would you rather have fucking Constantinian law? Would you rather have, laws of the jungle? Because I'd like to have laws of the jungle and go apeshit on these people. Protect property and entitlements. Yeah, that's part of it. I agree with that. Intent counts. Yes, it fucking does.
Why is that a bad thing?
Because if I run a guy over, don't you know it's murder? If I run a guy over when I have the intent of killing him, because he raped my daughter or something, or he fucked my sister without permission, yeah, that counts as intent.
Oh yeah, because your circumstances are more important than your intent.
Well, yeah. Well, no, not at all.
That's the argument they're making. That a person should be defined by their circumstances and not their intentions.
Well, then what's going to happen is you're going to have a underclass that's always going to get away with murder, and there's not going to be any attempt to, fit in. Competition, be number one. Well, why not be number one? Win at all costs. This is like Black Mana type of mindset, but yeah, win at all costs. Winners, loser dichotomy. Well, if you're not a winner, what else are you? A participant. So that's that. Action orientation, master and control of nature, which is good. I hate to be the guy who says this, but Europeans weren't the first people to harness the power of nature and use was it water wheels? I think it is. I think Herod had the power of steam at one point, like King Herod. I'm not sure which one. But they had control of the steam engine at one point. Master, let's see, must always do something about a situation. Not always. That's not a white thing. I hate to be the guy who says this, but aggressiveness and extroversion. No, look at Genghis Khan, you fucking weirdos. And yes, Genghis Khan was a redhead, but does that mean he's white? No, he was a redhead fucking Asian guy. Decision making. That's part of governance. You do know that like Confucius and Lao Tzu had the whole thing about the Tao, right? That's all. That all requires decision making. Pioneer spirit. The beach shops are saying we don't require a mask and massive displays of Trump paraphernalia. Good. Thank you, Pioneer Spirit. That's awesome. That's awesome, dude. Let's see. Majority rules when whites have power. No, because again, going back to the whole English common law, you can't violate people's rights and things like that. So if you become the majority, even if you're the majority black, you still have to follow these rules. That's too bad, Communication, the King's English rules.
The King's English?
As opposed to the Queen's English?
What's it, like, are they talking about Ebonics or something? Or
maybe.
Written tradition? Writing is history. There's a saying in my old job, if it wasn't written down, it didn't happen. That you need written history for civilization.
Well, it's also the fact that you have to remember what happened. So let's see. The King's English, this is from Wikipedia. That's not it.
This is great. Avoid conflict and intimacy. Wait, are those bad things or good things? Or
avoid communication, avoid conflict, intimacy. Don't show emotion. Don't discuss personal life. Be polite. This is all Anglo shit. I hate to be the guy who says this, but the majority of this crap is Anglo.
Wait, how can you avoid conflict and intimacy and then not show emotion?
Be a German.
Well, I'm part German, so.
I mean, I hate to be the guy who says this, but the Germans are always, they've always been the guys who are more prone to, just go with it. They're the guys who are just saying, just go with it. It's not exclusively white. And again, a lot of this is, European, but it's not exclusively.
Don't discuss personal lives as if I want to. And don't be polite. Be polite.
Be polite, yeah.
So these are vices of white people? Or this is a curse of whiteness? Or what?
I guess that we have to cure our whiteness. We have to stop that shit for whatever fucking reason. But be that as it may, I mean, I don't really. Again, these people. Like, I'll just say it. I was talking to my godparent today, and he realized finally that when they say whiteness, they're not really talking about white people. They're talking about notions that are exclusively linked, or not just exclusively, but linked to civilization in general. So we're really having a battle of civilizations. I think it really does boil down to the fact that people who want to have, the single family homes as opposed to, the projects, that's really like an example right there of the clash of civilizations. People think that single family homes are racist, but in reality, they're ideal because you own that land. You have to take care of it. You have to nurture it. You have to pass it on to the next generation. There's going to be a need for this shit. And if you keep building housing projects, yeah, everyone gets to have their little studio apartment, but the rest of us, we want to have big land. We want to own, something. But,
brings us to Barack Obama's extraordinarily startling idea of equality. The Washington Post said the president went on to paraphrase French poet Anatole France. He said, quote, "I forget which French writer said it. There is a law that was passed that was really equal because both rich and poor were forbidden from stealing loaves of bread and sleeping under the bridge." Well, that's not a good definition of equality, Obama said. Well, Mr. President, from this it would almost seem that your idea of equality means black people ought to be given license to rob, rape, assault, murder, and kidnap people. If so,
go on.
I must object. Especially if you're going to perpetually insist that my access to firearms and right to defend myself be whittled away at whenever the political opportunity presents itself. I'm no more a fan of cops than...
Yeah. Who is that, by the way?
Christopher Cantwell before he went crazy.
Well, even crazy men give some profound information.
Well, he went full... I think I'm not sure if he's full Nazbol or full Fash, but yeah, basically he was in Charlottesville and it kind of ruined his life.
Did he go Nazbol?
Well, he went to Charlottesville, and it's almost like ruining his entire existence, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, but Nazbol is the Duganist thing. That's actually a real legitimate thing. People like saying Nazbol is just a joke. It's not just a joke. It's a legitimate fucking ideology that became Eurasianism. And if he actually is working with the Duganists, I'm gonna have to call in and give him a fucking piece of my mind. But let's move on to this whole Nick the Glass Cannon. You hear about this?
But to summarize, this whole the fact that that's actually posted in the Smithsonian, or it shows you how deeply entrenched in intersectionality, white privilege stuff is trying to seep its way into our culture.
Well, the easiest way to get rid of it is just to cut off academia and say, fuck you, just because you have a piece of paper doesn't mean you're special. I hate to be the guy who says this, and then I guarantee, and by the way, I hate to be the guy who says this, but if you really want to abolish the whiteness, get rid of the fucking university system. That is exclusively a fucking white institution. They didn't have fucking institutions like in China and things like that. They were places of general learning, but they didn't have like the credentialism, like the master's degree, the bachelor's degree, and things like that. That's very much a Masonic Anglo construct. It really is.
To paraphrase Razor Fist, gender studies degree is not a degree. It's an expensive decorative wall hanging.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Get rid of the fucking institutions. They've outlived their usefulness. Cut them off. Stop funding them. You know, I've told, if you're going to fund them, don't fund the institution. Fund the people who go there. Pay kids to go to college. Don't pay these fucking professors. And if the professors are socialists, fuck them. Let them starve. Don't pay them. Make them work for free. From each according to his ability to each according to his need. Seriously, do it. Cut them off. But yeah.
Yes, our new favorite Farrakhan fan.
Yeah, Farrakhan man, marathon man. Play the clip from the beginning because this guy goes full on fucking race realist, borderline freaking.
Not even race realist, like he's full on
Nazi.
Well, not or Kang was Kang's black Nazi.
Yeah, he goes on full on Black Hitler.
When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is that fear in that
genetic annihilation,
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul.
Wow. Imagine a white person saying something like that.
Indeed.
It's, but he's black, so therefore he has to keep his career.
No, fuck him. He doesn't have a career. What is he doing that we aren't doing? The difference here is he's pandering to a bunch of dumb Negroes who don't know shit. And I'll say that. I don't give a fuck what they say. He's pandering to them. He's telling them, like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was saying, a lot of these self-help gurus, whether they're, mental health professionals, whether they're, suppository red pill types, they just want, they're trying to define who you are. And they're if you're looking for external validation, you're doing it wrong. Forge your own path. Don't let legal bullshit get in the way either. These people are so desperate for an identity. They are desperate that people, build their own. These are the people who need to either be told they're either free men or they're slaves. And that's the reality of the situation here.
And this is one of my favorite clips of recent history and relations with black conservatives and their play and how because there actually is a new documentary called Uncle Tom, and I want to get a copy of it. But this is like a perfect encapsulation of this.
I've chosen to cross different parts of the media world, done the work so that I'm qualified to be in each one. I never considered my color the issue. I considered my qualifications the issue.
Well, David, that's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege. This whole long conversation, I don't have time to get
Ariva, I hate to break it to you, but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
Okay, then I stand.
See, you went to...
You should have done exactly. Yeah.
Because it's an excuse. It's an excuse to be racially prejudiced. It's just... because I wanted to play that another clip because from this video right here.
By virtue of their race, because white straight people all have the same ideas. White straight people have the exact same culture. There is no difference in culture between different white people. All of us view the world the same. Now, if that is starting to sound familiar, it's because it's the exact same type of logic that all fascists, racists, white supremacists, the Klan, every single group you want to name who are into race hate and racial division use. And no, broad generalizations about a group are not suddenly justified when the group happens to be the majority or the man, instead of, black women or Jews or any other group that is quote-unquote protected or minority. You see, hate is hate. Fallacious racial profiling is still fallacious racial profiling. It's all based in generalizations and collectivizations, which are inherently false.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean they're inherently false, but that doesn't mean that they're. Well, let me just say this: you'd have to get a fuzzy logic. Fuzzy logic.
It's an excuse to not think, is what it is. It's an excuse to not be critical of people, but dismiss people for disagreeing with you.
Yeah, and even then, if you continue playing that clip, I want to finish off that clip that Nick the Glass Cannon is being criticized for.
Yeah, where are we here?
Yeah, finish up that clip. I want to see the rest of it.
Soul brothers and sisters, that's the melanin that connects us.
Right.
So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
Fight or flight.
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then.
Are we talking about white people or black people?
And when I say,
well, he's talking about black people better than white people.
I know, but like he's just described pretty much every gangster, thug, hood rat, and I guarantee you, the majority of them are going to be black or Hispanic. So again, this is like, I really want to just fuck with. I want to see somebody mess with Farrakhan. I really want to see somebody just fucking find that guy out where he is and just start fucking with him.
I mean, he's already
like
been kicked off of YouTube, so everyone hates him.
What's up?
Farrakhan's already been kicked off of YouTube, and I think Twitter's too. So
good. I mean, I don't even want. No, I'll see if I get him on here. I want to see if I get Farrakhan on here, and then just start, dissecting his thoughts and just have like a fucking honest conversations. And I'll invite him to tea. How about that? Have a nice Earl Grey tea, and we'll have a conversation about why he thinks the things he believes. I think that'd be interesting because I think it'd just be funny, to be honest. Go fuck yourself. Would you like to buy a vowel? Okay. Yeah.
Which is what I want to say to this kid.
Yeah, this kid's a fucking idiot. But keep playing.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are.
Oh, really? When we conquered the world with our massive technological advances, were we the savages?
I don't know if he knows about that. There are like legitimately pygmy tribes in fucking Africa that will eat your fucking heart out and they'll rip out your freaking. They will literally kill like a albino. They will literally chop you up with like machetes and stuff. Has this guy actually been to Africa? Like most of these black nationalists never go to Africa. And if they go to Africa, I swear to you, they will be in like some sort of dictator's palace or something like that. They'll be in the nice side of Africa. This is like the equivalent of some, fucking white liberal coming up to me and saying, I've been to the ghetto. I've been to Mexico. And they've only gone to like the very, very, like, I would say the border of the fucking ghetto. Like they go to the place that's safe, obviously. They'll never, if they go to Mexico, they'll go to TJ or Tijuana. These people are so intellectually dishonest. And the fact that they have to lie to themselves and then they get everybody to lie with them,
Actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
Barbaric mentality. You know what it is ultimately is this is a very common principle that we talked about before on the show. It's the shrinking of the markets. And the reality of the situation here is that if the blacks don't get their shit in order, they don't stop blaming the whitey or blaming anybody for that matter, or blaming themselves collectively and start taking personal fucking accountability. And yes, you're going to have to say goodbye to a lot of your friends. You're going to be like Lot leaving Sodom and Gomorrah in a lot of cases. They're not going to, they're not going to survive. They're going to be wiped out, and they're going to be done by their own bullshit, you know. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of eugenics shit that happened to the blacks in this country. There absolutely is. I'll flat out admit it. I mean, Margaret Sanger wanted to fucking kill you guys by using, you know, abortions. So instead of, you know, having to live with the consequences of fucking premaritally, you guys now are going to be, you know, exterminated specifically because of your stupid decisions. And you know, again, people can teach leeches of water, but they can't make you drink. So yeah, play this.
So let's imagine it's 1919. Hitler looks at the world and says, the Western world is industrialized and the rest of the world is not. But because the West is industrialized and therefore has big cities, the West needs more food, which it doesn't have. So currently, the industrialized West trades its industrial goods to the rest of the world.
By the way, before we continue, let's just say the industrialized West is synonymous with whitey, and then the East, in this case, is synonymized with darky, blacky, or whoever the Marxists decide to you know, support today. I want that to be known. But continue. Yeah, so we're playing some like Mad Libs on this motherfucker. Okay, we're Mad Libbing this shit.
But wait a second. If we trade industrial goods to these non-industrial powers, they will become industrialized. They will make their own factories. They will make their own machine tools and grow their own cities. But if they grow their own cities and they make their own industrial goods, they won't need our industrial goods. And they won't want to give us their food because they'll need it for themselves. And if they don't need our industrial goods, we will be able to trade for food. And if we don't get the food we need, the poor people will go hungry. And if the poor people go hungry, that will lead to class warfare, which will, in Hitler's mind, be exploited by the Jews, who will usher in a Marxist revolution. This is the shrinking markets idea. There are a few variations.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what the guy was espousing. He was espousing a very, very basic bitch argument of the shrinking markets.
On the melanin level.
Yeah, on the what level?
Melanin.
Yeah, he was basically saying that, oh, well, we have, you know, again, a lot of these white nationalists, a lot of these racial collectivists, ultimately they're correct. You know, there are going to be people who are going to die out, whether they're Asians, Jews, you know, blacks, you know, Latinos. They're dying out because of all this identity politics crap. No one's allowed to stand on their own and make it on their own way in the world. Now there has to be like, oh, there are too many people who are successful who are Asian. Well, let's kick the fucking Asians in the shin and then redistribute to whoever isn't Asian, you know. And I use Asian for example because, you know, the Asians have sued Harvard because they kept letting people in, specifically because of their race. Like there's actually, I think, like a 20% challenge rating for African American students to get into Harvard as opposed to anybody else. Like there's a legitimate, like if you look at this whole bullshit culture war from the perspective of there's not enough resources to go around at a certain particular time and moment, which I think a lot of this boils down to, we lost our manufacturing base here. Ultimately that makes sense because there isn't a lot to go around, and there's only so many, openings at Harvard or Stanford or wherever. And so there is a actual legitimate scarcity within society, and a lot of it's manufactured that way. Like I've often said, I'm against academia because it creates artificial scarcity where it doesn't need to be. Thanks for the extremely absurdity of the recent events. I think millions of Americans are realizing that there is no political solution. Pioneer Spirit says. Well, yeah, just because there's no political solution does not mean that there isn't we automatically become violent. I think that a lot of aggression, we need to be aggressive opinions, but I don't think that an aggressive solution, but not necessarily a political one. I personally will not serve SJWs. I will not, treat them with, I'll treat them with respect, but if I have to choose an SJW over a guy who isn't, I'm going to choose the guy who isn't. It's just that simple. What do you have here, Luke?
Proponents of affirmative action always seem to leave out the inconvenient detail that creating demographic parity in higher education means ensuring there are less Asians attending prestigious universities. You heard that right. Affirmative action intentionally and actively excludes Asian students from higher education. According to data from the AAMC, if you have a GPA of 3.5 and an MCAT score of 30, you have a 91% chance of being admitted to medical school. If you're black. If you're Hispanic, your odds fall to 79%. If you're white, you have a 55% chance of being admitted, and if you're Asian, that falls to just 50%. So remember, despite the way it's often portrayed, the affirmative action debate isn't black people against white people. It's affirmative action against everyone.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it could all be gotten rid of if we just destroy these institutions. You know, I keep telling people there's a reason why.
It's not even the institutions, the people who run them, who want to have these bizarre racial ideas.
But it's not just the people who run them. Like here's let me riddle me this for a second, Luke. And maybe I'm wrong on this, and maybe I'm just a little fucked up in the head. But what is the difference between learning math at Yale as opposed to learning math at a community college?
If you're at Yale, you're probably not learning the same math.
Well, that's the assumption. But let's just lower it down. Let's back it up to calculus. Let's just keep it within calculus. Calculus at Yale versus calculus at, I don't know, a community college. Like, what's the difference? There is no difference because math is math. It doesn't matter what you like. Really, what we're doing at the end of the day when it comes to education is we're putting kids through, years and years of school and debt. And it's supposed to be an eye-opening experience. It's supposed to give people an idea of what the hell they want to do with their lives. The problem...
Yeah, that's a horrible lie.
Well, it is, because here's the thing. You never leave campus. You never leave. Like, I would rather sign up with a bunch of nomads who, go around the world clubbing and, stripping and going through from Amsterdam to London to freaking, Berlin, and then going to the freaking the Vatican City. That's more of an experience. That's more of an experience than, let's say, going to college. I even said, go if you want to save money, but you want to get the same level of head knowledge and experience, and I say experience with a air quote here, go to 4chan. Literally, go to 4chan and go on B. Go on to some of these weirder boards on 4chan and just read the posts. Don't look at the images. Stay away from the images, and you'll learn that there's a lot more people out there who have weirder ideas than you do. Go to G. Go to the anime boards. Go to these places. That is college. That's your college experience.
You go to Yale for the prestige, which apparently, according to this search, it says the most popular majors at Yale University include social sciences, biological, biomedical sciences, history, mathematics, and then statistics and engineering.
Yeah, but here's the question: why should I go to Yale? Like, Yale has to lie to me and tell me that I'll be a magical superstar if I go with them. When in reality, all it is just the Yale people getting in positions of power, and then they kick the ladder down so no one else can climb up, and then they make it so that they not just they don't just do that, but they kind of monetize it and then make it so that you have to swipe your freaking real ID to get in. It's the same fucking problem, and a lot of these institutions are nepotists. They legitimately, the only way they succeed is through nepotism. They only succeed, like the only way a Harvard graduate can make it in this world when they have all the tuition and all the costs set up is if they have nepotism. And that is the reason why I want to destroy them, is because if you had 100 different trade schools, they're never going to get so big that they become nepotistic. And if they do, break them up. These people want to have a monopoly on education. And that's why I brought up the whole notion of math from Yale versus math from community college. Math is math. You may be able to say, well, our Yale science lab has a nuclear reactor. Okay, fine. There. That makes sense. Now we're somewhere in reality. Now you have a way of differentiating. But they never do that. They keep remaking the same old bullshit, gymnasium. Oh, we have an Olympic-sized pool. Woohoo. Everyone has an Olympic-sized pool. That's nothing special about that. It's literally to the point, like maybe in the 1920s, maybe you might have an argument for that. But now there's no justification. It's just nepotism. And the problem is that, like I've said before, these fucking SJWs, they live off of nepotism. That's how they survive. Hipster welfare from Patreon. They cry oppression and then they get someone to flash mob you. That's all they can do. They live off of nepotism. And I think that at the end of the day, the easiest way to get rid of them is to destroy the institutions. Nuke the site from orbit.
I mean, to the point where the liberals are actually bribing teachers to get their kids into school.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming like communism almost. Like you have to know the party man to get where you're at. It just doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make any fucking sense. But we keep giving them our money and we keep sending them. You know, there was this, I think Tucker Carlson had a guy on, it was about Praxis, or I believe there were a bunch of other alternatives. And I keep telling people, just get the certificates, just get into the front door. Because I'll tell you this, the people who are discriminating based on higher education, if they're going to get, there's going to be a huge lawsuit coming up, I think. I think we're going to see a huge, big, conversation in our culture about higher education. Because if it really is something so magical that prevents you from doing your job and doing it effectively, what's going to happen is you're going to have an entire workforce that is split down the middle between the low, quote unquote, incompetent people who are not trained at what they're supposed to do, quote unquote, versus the people who have all the knowledge and all the information and all everything. Like, ultimately, the institutions have become a monopoly on education and that, by the same time, validation of education. And I don't think they should be that way. And this is why I think we should just burn them all to the ground.
Remind me again why I have to take 4 or 5 semesters worth of fluff classes?
As a tenured professor, I can attest that a well-rounded student is a good student. Also, I need to justify my existence here.
Fuck these people. No, fuck these people. These people are fucking money-hoarding pieces of shit who do nothing.
But I just want to build robots. Demystifying the hipster doesn't help me with that. Forget this nonsense. I'll teach myself.
No, knowledge can only come from on high.
Oh, fuck you and your perennial doctrine nonsense, you fucking cunt. Fuck that noise. This is like I would expect my godparent or a freaking, teacher of the Catholic tradition to say that. Because, I mean, you could argue divine revelation can only be revealed. I get that. That's fine. That's fine. We're dealing with, metaphysical claims of the paranormal kind, of the third kind, let's say. But in reality, this is just not the case. If anything, we're the fucking Prometheans. We're the people who are stealing fire from the fucking academic tiki gods of academia. That's what we are doing. We're keeping that spirit alive here on the Renegade podcast. Like, favorite, and subscribe to keep us afloat, man. I'm already putting my own money into having a freaking SoundCloud account. But hey, why the hell not? But in any case, let's move on from there. Let's move on, because I really wanted to go after this whole Nick Glass thing. Now we're going to go on to something bigger. Oh yeah. Have you seen the picture of Zuckerberg and his little surfboard?
No, I have not.
All right. Well, apparently Zuckerberg is just showing more and more that his programming is fucked up, and he really does look like Data in this particular that man. Seriously, he reminds me so much of Data. He does, doesn't he? He
seriously needs some more tanning.
He does. He's a pasty little fucking. He's a pussy. He fucked his friends out of the Facebook deal. Go look at that movie Social Media, for example. And he again, I'll just say Zuckerberg was a mistake. His whole you shouldn't wish death on people. I don't wish death on Zuckerberg. I just simply wish he was never born. That's what I wish. That someone like him never existed. That Facebook never existed. Because at this point, one of the things Facebook has done is cheapen the concept of what a friend is. Now we have best friends, right? It's created more balkanization in our culture than any other, force in this world. It's one thing to have crazy academics who believe crazy shit. It's another thing to get them online together and to join the same groups, and to the point where they get the same newsletters, same likes, to the point where they get into an echo chamber. But yeah,
it's not so much that I want to kill her. It's just I want her not to be alive anymore.
Yeah, he is Data, Pioneer Spirit. And while you're at it, I think it was either you or somebody else, I'm not sure, but E. Michael Jones is Bill Nye the Science Guy. So we have Data from Star Trek. We have E. Michael Jones. What other crazy, wacky 90s characters can we find in this culture war? Because that's really what's going on at this point. We already have, let's see, we have Bill Nye the Science Guy. We have freaking Data from Star Trek. What is Elon Musk, I wonder? We'll figure out something for him. I don't know. But yeah, Data from Star Trek, that's, I saw a guy on Twitter trying to compare him to, Luke, can you pull up a picture of Bigfoot, please? Hold up a picture of Bigfoot. I want to do this in real fucking time. Oh, that was you. Yeah, DZ, that was you. Yeah. DZ called it out. E. Michael Jones is Bill Nye the fucking science guy. And I really want to do a remix of that opening.
EJ the Tricath Way.
EK the Logos guy. Joe Rogan is the modern Mr. Rock. I hope not. No, I'd hate to say it, but I'd say it would be Jordan B. Peterson's the modern day Mr. Rogers.
Oh yeah, he is. Some people actually made the comparisons already.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Rogan, I would say, is the modern day version of what the hell is that? The guy from Sirius XM. What the hell is his name? Howard Stern. That's what Joe Rogan is. He's the Howard Stern of our day. But that's basically it. I mean, it's the same fucking hunchbacked sort of look to him. I don't know. But I wonder if we could get Zuckerberg on a cryptid list. Like, we got a bunch of cryptids. We have the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, the Chupacabra, and Zuckerberg. That'd be interesting to see. I don't know. So yeah, apparently white Jesus. Apparently, Sean King at one point said that statues of Jesus and his mother need to be taken down because they're apparently just they're inaccurate because they portray white Europeans. But here's the thing about that. Whether you go to Japan, whether you go to China, whether you go to the Middle East, whether you go to Ethiopia, all of the saints and the patriarchs and all the people from the Bible are portrayed as black, or the color of the people at that particular area. It just so happens that people, who knew how to use marble statue and knew how to sculpt, decided to make them white, because white marble looks way better than black marble. I hate to be the guy who says this, but yeah, apparently statues of Mary were being desecrated, and as a Catholic, I'm kind of pissed off, and I kind of want to see an SGW noodle boy try to do that in front of me so I could smash him against the statue and offer it as his life as a sacrifice.
I'm a Protestant, even I don't think that's okay. I mean, I guess the thing is, I don't think it's okay to smash down Mary for racial reasons. That's really stupid.
I mean, Mary, at the end of the day, she's already a virgin. I mean, that's already one strike against her at this day and age. I mean, if we're really going to go with the whole notion of sexual revolution and to be chaste is bad, she's a virgin, okay? She's a fucking virgin, and that's the worst thing you could be in this brave new world of craziness. But,
or worse, even if she wasn't a virgin, she was a woman who maintained her purity until after she got married.
Yeah, which the fiend, I know, it's such a horror.
Heaven forbid that people not be promiscuous.
I know, God forbid
because otherwise women might actually find a meaningful relationship and have a long-term marriage.
Well, you do know what they say about let's see, family values, right? Let's see if we find out.
Whiteness.
It's all whiteness. And you could actually see it. Look, it's whiteness. It's whiteness right there. She's just covered in
white. Of course, it's whiteness.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fucking weird. Why is Zuckerberg's legs tanner than his face? It's because he wore too much sunscreen on his face. And to be honest, I mean, let's be frank here. Everyone wants to see Zuckerberg. He's just a fucking freak show. He's like an afterbirth. He's like some sort of rodeo clown or something, like some sort of state sideshow. He really is at the end of the day. So, yeah. So, the final thing I want to talk about tonight is, this is something that I, as a kid, as somebody who is a byproduct of the fucking correctional system, and to a certain degree, the mental health system even, this really does scare the fuck out of me, this next story.
Oh, what is it now?
Boy of 16 was given estrogen for behavioral disorder while in L.A. Juvenile hall suits allege.
This is not okay. This is really not okay.
It's not. I mean, it's one thing to give the fucking kid Valium or Haldol. It's another thing to give the kid fucking, estrogen, which, by the way, is a hormone. It's not a fucking chemical substance. I mean, you can get caught for having too much fucking Ritalin. I mean, esports tournaments, they'll check you for Ritalin. They won't check you for fucking estrogen. So it says from the LA Times. Let me get a drink real quick. Fucking bullshit.
Boy 16 was given estrogen for behavioral disorder while in LA juvenile hall, suit alleges. A 16-year-old boy, an actual boy, being held in LA County Juvenile Hall developed an enlarged breast after he was prescribed estrogen to treat a behavioral disorder, a move that baffled doctors who said that the treatment defied medical logic, according to the lawsuit filed last month.
The teen whose identity was being withheld because of his age was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD, which I'm not. Oppositional defiant disorder is not the same thing as ADHD, although there is a different parallel.
Like what is that? Like what is ODD?
Well, I could let's pull up the. That's a very good question. Let's pull up the.
Because that sounds like mundane, sort of like oppositional defiant disorder. Like that just sounds like being a teenager.
Exactly, it is, and this is the reason why I've always been a skeptic when it comes to mental health. Like, because let's be frank. The mental health, there's real social justice that can be done in the mental health system right now. Mentally ill people cannot own guns. Their second amendment is deprived from them. They can't own and possess firearms, nor can they purchase them legally or illegally. There was eugenics that was done in California, specifically against the mentally ill or the perceived mentally ill. On top of the fact that the left has basically taken over the mental health system in this country. They have. If you want an example of this, go look up how homosexuality got taken off the DSM.
No evidence allowed.
It was all political.
It's a collection of symptoms too. There's no even the best behaved child can be difficult and challenging at times, but if your child or teenager has a frequent or persistent pattern of anger, irritability, arguing, defiance, or vindictiveness towards you and other authority figures, isn't that being a teenager?
It's not just being a teenager. I mean, to a certain degree, I have those traits as well. The difference here is that it's because they keep masquerading as an authority. It's because people who are academics put out shit about talking about white culture and whiteness. They're the fucking moral superiors. They're the intellectual superiors. They're the authorities on the fucking matter.
Do you remember the Batman Beyond episode where they had this scenario like this, where most of the disproportionate number of the students had to be sent to like a training camp for their misbehavior?
I do not remember that episode.
It was basically like a cult training camp where they were locked in, like this authoritarian structure where the mentor was in this big brother pose and says, "You're worthless, horrible people." It's like a cult atmosphere.
So.
And meanwhile, the one kid that actually did cause all this concern actually was a dangerous person. So there is no winner in that scenario. Even though all the kids were punished because of this one kid, but this one kid deserved to be punished.
DSM. Yeah. Again, the DSM is bullshit. It's basically, again, these poor kids, they're being fucking tormented. I've oftentimes told kids, if I got isolated because I was isolated because of the mental health system. I couldn't learn. They said, "Oh, you have to learn social cues. You got to learn social cues." Well, part of learning social cues is being with the socialized people, being with people within, the environment of the mainstream. If you're going to continuously, hold people together who are not, socialized, they're going to have a really weird culture. They're basically creating their own little subculture within the greater scheme, and they're never going to integrate in because they have their own social norms and social cues. I mean, look at what happens to some of these, prisoners who ask, "Can I use the restroom? Can I use the restroom? Can I use the restroom?" No, asking to use the restroom is, you don't have to do that. That's what prisoners do. They have to know where you are at all times. So it creates a cultural.
Yeah, it's that one line from Shawshank Redemption. "Go to the restroom break, boss. I've had to ask permission to go to the bathroom, and you can't squeeze a drop without say so."
Yeah. Yeah, they own your ass, and this is the reason why, again, I'm heavily against the mental health system. Wolf and Pepper says a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna just read it off. Why is Zuckerberg's Nazi experience continued by commies? Yes, in a lot of cases. We're gonna get into that. Wolf and Pepper says,
who are they to question our wonderful public school system?
Yeah, he's got a point. I hated public school, but don't homeschooled kids turn out weird?
Didn't we?
Fair enough.
Yeah. So the thing that I don't like about the DSM is it's very, there's a wonderful, I think it's called DSM, the Psychiatry's Greatest Scam. We could look into that sometimes. We want to do a movie night at some point on BitChute or something. Maybe even on DLive. I want to do something for DLive once in a while. But one of the things that I the thing that really got me, the death nail in the coffin for DSM was the orthorexia nervosa. Orthorexia nervosa is the fear of eating, like caring about where your food comes from and like the quality of food. So don't be surprised.
That's a disorder.
What? Yeah, it's a disorder. And then there's video game addiction disorder. There is, I believe, biting your nails was a symptom of mental illness. I mean, it's all pseudoscience.
That is a perfect example of how there is no normal. Like you can't. These people are trying to say that everything that we do is a disorder.
Yeah, and this is why if you really want to destroy mental illness and just to fucking destroy all the whole fucking field, go up when the doctor says you're mentally ill, say, what's mentally healthy? And they will immediately just shut the fuck up right there. And they'll say, it's the opposite of mental illness. I'll say, well, that's like saying the opposite of good is evil. So that still doesn't change the argument of what's good, nigga. It literally, they can't stand up to criticism because at the end of the day, they have the divine right of kings or some magical tiki fetish that makes them super powerful. Don't you know? It sounds like a joke to me. It is a joke. The problem here is that the fucking the judges listen to the doctors because they have a magical piece of paper. Don't you know? So literally, they could change the entire outcome of a fucking court case based on their expert opinion, even though they're not psychic.
Worry about tests sometimes? Then you have
anxiety disorder.
Do you always touch the doorknob before opening doors? Then you've got
crippling OCD.
Do you sometimes itch yourself in public? Then it looks like you're
turning into a wolf.
These are all serious medical problems, as diagnosed by a first-year psychology major at LedMD.
Yeah. I think mental health. Like, here's the thing about the whole mental health thing, and before we continue, because I brought this up specifically because there's a very good quote about I wouldn't say mental health, but this is by Huxley, Aldous Huxley, and those of you who need to know, Aldous Huxley was a Fabian socialist, by the way, and he talks about, I think it's at, let's see if I can find it. It is at, I believe, 3 minutes and 36 seconds. Luke, play it on the screen. And there's something very interesting he says about this whole 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
It's a question of doses. I think it's quite on the cards that we may have drugs which will profoundly change our mental states without doing us any harm. Well, what is going to happen in the future is the dictators will find, as the old saying goes, that you can do everything with bayonets except sit on them. But if you want to preserve your power indefinitely, you have to get the consent of the ruled. And this they will do partly by drugs, partly by these new techniques of propaganda. They will do it by bypassing the sort of rational side of man and appealing to his subconscious and his deeper emotions, making him actually love his slavery. I mean, I think this is the danger, that actually people may be in some ways happy under the new regime, but they will be happy in a situation where they oughtn't to be happy.
Yeah. And this is ultimately the problem with a lot of these SJWs. They are inmates of the invisible prison. You know what the invisible prison is, Luke?
Enlighten me.
Let me see if I can find it. It was a quote.
I mean, I know the prison that that Scientologist, how he described the best kinds of prison.
Well, essentially, the idea is it's like analysis paralysis. Like the whole purpose of in Doctor Strange, and I bring this up because I learned this from a freaking quote from a blog called the Mighty God King. And this was like quoted back in 2012, but it really does make sense. Link in the description, by the way. It talks about, Doctor Strange, for him to use magic, he has to believe he has to believe that he has the ability to do magic. The problem is that if you could convince Doctor Strange, no, you're not magical. That's all natural phenomenon. You're crazy. You're mentally ill. You gaslight them. And that's what they're doing now. They're trying to gaslight people. And there's this quote that talks about the invisible prison. There's an invisible prison with invisible walls. Invisible cells with invisible bars. On Wednesdays, you're allowed to exercise under invisible guards' watchful eyes. Invisible library has invisible magazines, which you read and dream your invisible dreams of when you won't sleep in your invisible cot and will not get lost in your invisible thoughts. One day, you might stride out the invisible gate after a lengthy invisible wait, but the invisible prison will never leave you whole. It tears at your mind, your heart, and your soul. And that's a quote from this. And the easiest way to break out of it is to find out who the warden is. Who is the one holding you back? And it's the gender studies professor. It's the Anita Sarkeesian. In some cases, it's even yourself. You know, when you break out of the whole of the whole paradigm of the victim mentality and, you know, blaming white man or Asian or anybody else, you have nobody else but yourself, and you have to take care of yourself, you know? I mean, I talk about going after people and revenge and shit like that, but ultimately I kind of don't want to, because it's a hell of a lot easier to blame the person who, you know, who cucked you out of a girlfriend, or God forbid, you know, put you in, you know, time out when you were fucking 4, and then it is to actually change anything. And, you know, a lot of these SJWs, they are inmates of the invisible prison. They can't get out of it, because for them to admit to be free is they have to just acknowledge that there is no prison. You're free. You can get out, and you have nobody to blame but yourself. And no one wants to look at themselves in the mirror and say, holy shit, I am free. I can do whatever I want. And even then, there are people who will say, no, you're not free. What are you talking about, you fucking stupid Negro? You're dumb. You're stupid. You're always going to be an Uncle Tom and all this other shit that the invisible prisoners use, and they enforce people. They enforce the groupthink. And it's very sad what's happening. You know, and you know, part of the reason we have these podcasts is because we want people to break out of it. We want them to spring a jailbreak, if you will. So that's pretty much what I got to say on that. But yeah, you know, the whole notion of the Brave New World concept that Huxley talks about, people loving their slavery, loving their servitude. How many people love the idea of just knowing where they stand in the hierarchy of the whole progressive stack? How many people are comfortable with it and not wanting to question anything? You know, we're not here to, you know, I think it was Christ who said this. Actually, he did say this. I'm not here I'm here to divide. I'm here to take wife from husband, brother against brother, daughter from family. And that's sort of what we're doing on this podcast. We try to get the best information we can, present it to you in a way that you understand, and hopefully make your life better. You know, saving the West is a side quest, but the main quest is your life, the rest of your fucking life.
Here it is. Do not suppose I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace but a sword, for I have come to turn, quote, man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father more than they love me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it.
Yeah, and that's sort of, you know, God, Christ was the way, the truth, and the light. He's not the logos. Fuck you, Bill 9. But no, seriously, like he's the way, the truth, and the light. And you could say that in English. You don't need to say it in Greek, but you could. I'm sure you could. But yeah, I think we're gonna end it here. Luke, any final thoughts?
I thought I did, but I lost in all that. Unfortunately, I lost the cue. He said so much.
Yeah, I'm sweating already because of all this. I don't know. It takes a mental to have a podcast. It's stressful to a certain degree. It could be laid back, but and the way I do it, I'm kind of like a fire and brimstone minister almost. But yeah, you know, stay away from. Don't take hormones. Don't take estrogens. Don't do drugs. And remember, saving the West is a side quest. This is the Digital Renegade podcast. Out.